I'm sorry. Ask the question again.
Did you just totally zone out?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
I just went somewhere. I don't even know where I went. I don't remember.
Jeez.
Go ahead, ask me again. What was it?
The question was,
Yes.
what advice can you give us? Yeah,
It looks really good.
you are really glowing right now.
Yeah, you are.
Am I? Something
Yes.
wrong?
No, it looks good.
All right, we have Mother.
No, stop.
Oh.
Start again. I wasn't even looking. I was.
All right, rerun. Okay.
Where am I supposed to look? At you?
Yeah, you can look at us.
You won't be able to see my face.
It doesn't matter. You can look at
But
the
I
camera
can't
and look at us.
turn. I have to turn.
That's fine. That's
perfect.
perfect. That
That's
looks good.
perfect. Right there.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
But where is the camera really? For real? I just want to know.
You're being filmed by that camera?
Yeah, but where's the hole I'm looking at? Oh, right into the middle of the lens.
gigantic lens. Yeah, look into the gigantic lens. All right. So, Kelly Momma, this is a
Yeah.
long-awaited, highly anticipated
Yeah.
episode, and all it is talking about you and your thoughts on the life, the world, history, and we've
My dog.
and Kenai, yes,
Especially Kenai.
especially Kenai.
He's
We
so
have
cute.
solicited our subscribers for a bunch of questions and gotten a ton of submissions. So thank you all for giving us your questions. So we want to dive right into it.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
speaking of glowing, our subscribers want to ask you.
I would like to hear Mama Kelly and Clem Daddy's love story.
There's no love.
Well, oh no.
No, I'm just kidding. Erase that.
I'll clip it out.
No. Well, I picked him out of a wedding album. He
Like
looked.
shopping?
Yeah, because he looked cute in a wedding album in a tuxedo in front of an altar. And I thought, oh, he'll do.
Nice.
That sounds terrible, but it's true. I worked the whole state of Virginia as a job. So I would go from account to account to account. And at this particular account, the counter manager wanted to show me her wedding album. And Clem happened to be in the wedding party. That is how I saw him. And I went, ooh, he's cute. And she said, he's single, which was a shocker. Now I know why. No, I'm just kidding. That was just a joke. So I set up a little blind date, and we met just for drinks because I needed an exit plan if it didn't work out. But we ended up bar hopping the rest of the night, and the rest is history.
Well, walking into the bar, didn't you see another guy?
I did, which was sad because he was so good looking. And he was at the bar, and when I walked in, he flashed his pearly whites at me, and I was like, oh, here's an opportunity missed.
Oh.
Because that guy was so cute. I wanted to be with that guy, and it turned out that was Clem at the bar. And I didn't know that because it'd been a long time since I'd seen his picture, and I'd forgotten what he looked like, kind of. But I could tell when I walked in the door that's the guy I was going to be with.
And it turned out to be Mr. Clem.
And it was Mr. Clemmy.
It's a very positive outcome for a blind date.
Yeah.
It was, because I'm ready to, some people aren't the whole package.
Yeah.
And for me, in that very moment, I knew he was the whole package. And I went home and I called my mom and said, I met the man I'm going to marry. And she said, Kelly. And I said, no, Mom, this is the man I'm going to marry. And she went, okay. And then I showed him a picture of her, and she went, oh, okay. I understand. I said I knew you'd understand, Mommy. So that's the story. You can edit a lot of that.
No, I'm leaving it all in.
Right on that
Good
there.
story.
Yeah, it was. Now, you mentioned your job and how you're kind of all over the area with your job.
Right.
Before my accident, what did you do for a living?
Well, not what I was doing with Clem, but right before your accident or during your accident, I was with Brighton. I was an account executive or sales rep, whatever you want, territory rep for Brighton. So with Brighton, I would travel the whole territory, and my territory was Virginia. And I, at one point, had parts of West Virginia and parts of North Carolina. But Virginia was my territory at this time. And I would help mom and pop store owners make more money.
And she was really good at it, by the way.
Well, I loved my job, and I
She
loved
was-
my customers.
Quentin and I loved when she would pull up the national charts and say, oh, I'm about to get into second, and then, oh, I'm about to get to first.
Right.
And at some point, she was number one in the nation.
Yeah, it was fun to be on the leaderboard. And when I would pull up the results for the leaderboard that week, my boys would be jumping off of ottomans and the couches if I was in the top 10 or whatever. It was quite fun.
So working at Brighton, was that what you were doing when you heard about Cole's accident?
Mm-hmm.
Where exactly were you when the accident happened?
I was on my way back from Virginia Beach. A customer wanted me to come and do an early morning training seminar with them. So I was there and I gave an educational seminar to the staff. And I was hustling back home on a Friday afternoon. I believe it was Friday, because Cole had just gotten his driver's license the day before. Mm-hmm. And he was excited to go out on the town independently. And I was excited for him to have that adventure. I think it was about 3:15 in the afternoon when I got a phone call. And I make a practice of not answering my phone when I'm driving. You all would say I never answer my phone.
Just driving, eating, anything really.
Texting. Anyway, there was something nagging at me that said I needed to answer that phone even though it was a number I did not recognize. I thought, maybe I should. And I was sitting in traffic in Newport News. I reached down and I picked up the phone, and it was one of Cole's friends.
That's pretty hard news to break to someone. How did he deliver that to you over the phone?
Well, he was very cool and sort of ambiguous. So when he was describing the situation, he said, Mrs. Sidner, Cole has hurt himself. We're at the river. Once you're at the river? He said, yeah. And he said, and he is hurt. And I said, well, what is going on? And he said, well, he has a gash on his forehead. And it's bleeding pretty bad, but we have pressure on it. And I said, well, have you called the paramedics? And he said, yes. And he says, but I'm not even sure the paramedics are going to take him, to the hospital or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see when they get here what they say. And I said, all right, let me call you right back. I hung up the phone. I thought about it for a minute, and I called him right back. And I said, Will, are you with Cole now? And he said, yes. And I said, can he move his arms or his legs? And he said, no, not really. I said, okay, I will see you at MCV. And he said, well, I'm not even sure if the paramedics are going to take him to MCV. And I said, Will, I will see you at MCV.
Because you had a feeling?
I knew instantly. I had a gut feeling all day that day anyway, but I knew at that point it was serious. And I said, is he awake? And he said, yes, he's awake. And all he keeps saying to me is, please tell my mom I love her. Please tell my mom I love her. Please tell my mom I love her. And I said, Will, you just tell him that his mom loves him, and I'll see you at MCV. And I got to MCV in about, 20 minutes from Newport News, which is normally an hour or so drive. The speedometer was pegged to the floor, and my foot was smashed to the floor, and I went off onto the shoulder of the road around people if they were stopped. There happened to be a car that was on fire on the right-hand side of the road, and people were slowing down for that, but I did not slow down. I kept thinking, please let an emergency worker see me screaming down the road. Please pull me over, throw me in the car, and take me to MCV. I was praying that I would get pulled, and there was no one. And so I drove like that, like crazy, straight to the hospital. Yeah. I even stopped an ambulance on the road and asked the ambulance if they had my child in the car. And they said, no, ma'am, we don't, and you need to step aside.
Right.
And I was like, what? Anyway.
A lot of people don't know this, but you've actually broken your neck twice.
Mm-hmm.
What happened, and is that sort of why you kind of had a feeling you knew what happened when my friend was on the phone with you?
Yes. So the first time I broke my neck, I was at my dad's property in Texas, my mom and dad's. He has 11 horses. None of these horses are trained, by the way. They're just lawn ornaments. But I got on one. Her name was Bandit, and she was trained, and she would read body signals. I rode her for 45 minutes, squeezing, leaning, moving, and she and I became one until we were running towards the barn. The eaves looked super low, so I laid down and hugged her neck, so she laid her neck down too. And in that process, I slid right off the front of her, and just rammed my head straight into the ground head first. And all my family was there to witness it.
Yeah. And then the second time was at a park?
It was at a water park. And I had finished my therapy. The neck collar had been removed. And so we were celebrating. So I went on this little tiny kiddie slide. And unfortunately, there was a man and his little girl still on the slide, walking down hand in hand because they'd come off their little inner tube. My tube undercut the father's heels. He flew into the air and came sitting down or smashing into my neck and popped it beyond 180 or whatever. So it just snapped it. And so that was broken at C1 and 2. But I never injured my spinal cord. So I'm a very, very, very lucky, blessed woman. Very fortunate indeed.
It's pretty wild though. My mom has her neck fused. I have my neck fused, and my grandma has her spine fused. So there's a lot of spinal fusion going on in this family.
Yeah, it's kind of like some people might talk about their hairdressers or their nail spa salon, whatever, and we talk about our neurosurgeons. Well, my neurosurgeon.
Yeah, it's
So
not okay.
Cole and I have matching scars in the back because I broke C6 and 7 on the horse fall and broke 1 and 2 at the water park. So I'm busted at the top of my cervical spine and the bottom of my cervical spine. So I can't really turn this way or that way. So I just always look stiff. I'm sure people think, why is she so stiff? But that's why, because I really can't turn. And at some point, they may have to put rods and screws in to prevent any movement at all because of pain. So I just live in perpetual pain, and I deal with that. But that's how I knew you were hurt.
Right.
Badly.
So you said you got the speculation that you knew Cole was paralyzed. So after you realized that, or after you actually learned he was paralyzed, how did you prepare yourself?
Well, the first thing I did before I learned that he was paralyzed, even though I knew he was paralyzed, is I called my work while I was flying down the road. And I said, I will not be calling in this afternoon. And I'm on my way to MCV. My child is paralyzed. And they said, what? Kelly, you can't say that. How do you know that? And I said, I just know. And they said, but you're not even there yet. And I said, because I know. And I said, so I probably will not be calling in tonight, and I'm not sure when you'll hear from me again. And they didn't. I was done. At 3:10, I effectively retired. That was the end of it.
No back since.
No, I didn't leave the hospital the whole time.
So do you feel like you were prepared when you walked into the ICU room the first time and saw the scene and all that?
Well, I didn't know what to expect because I just knew you might be paralyzed, but I didn't know to what extent. And there's always that piece of you in the back or something in the back of you that just keeps hoping and praying and hoping and praying. I think the hardest, weirdest part for me was when I was sitting in the waiting room by myself at the children's emergency room area, and there were no children there. There was no one in that room but me and the receptionist at the table, which was odd on a Friday afternoon, I thought. I was just sitting there, and eventually 2 clergymen walked in, fully dressed, in their robes and their collars. And they said, are you Mrs. Sidner? And I thought, no, I'm not. That's not me. You got the wrong person. And so I said, yes. And they said, well, we need to sit down and talk to you. And I said, why are you here? Why are you talking to me? Why are you talking to me? Because I'm thinking in movies, what happens when you see the priest walk in? That's it. I thought they were prepared to deliver the news. And so I don't know at that point what they said, because in my mind was, and all I heard was wah, 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 like the Peanuts thing. And all I kept saying was the verse, my help comes from the Lord. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord. And I repeated that over and over, in my head, while I stared at them like. But I was in my own scripture. I listened to it, and then I immediately walked over to the receptionist and said, is that protocol? Is that what you do? Is send priests in? I mean, that was so scary for me. And they did tell me that you were not dead, but that they were working on you and I couldn't go back to see you just yet. So that was my first, This isn't going to be good. And then I waited in there a very long time. Eventually Quint came in and I said, this is not going to be good. When the doctor finally came in and said, they're ready to talk to you now, can you step into the conference room? I about came unglued. Because when my mom passed from her brain aneurysm, they told us by having the family come back to the conference room.
I remember that.
I just looked at Quint and I said, this is not going to be good. It is not going to be good. Quint, it is not going to be good. I don't know why I kept repeating that, but I was trying to prepare him. Maybe part of me, I was trying to prepare me too, but mostly I was just saying, gird yourself, boy. This is not going to go well.
After they came in and y'all had that discussion and you figured out what was going on and they helped you understand, how long did it take you to sort of overcome that shock mode and go into Mama Bear, time to protect my kid mode?
All right. What I remember of that day, when the doctor delivered the news to me, your friends were all there as well as Quint. And all I remember at that point was dropping to my knees on the floor and screaming. And I was wailing, screaming, wailing. And then I thought to myself, I just did that in front of all these young boys who are terrified. And I thought, that is never going to happen again. I'm done with that, because it wasn't helpful. It didn't move things forward. And I thought, I was weak. And I'm not going to be weak again, because that's not helpful. So I think at that point, I started making the turn to, I've got to be strong. I got to be strong. Mama Bear mode, whatever you want to call it. I gave myself that initial reaction, and then I said, we're done with that. Because everyone was going to have that, and I knew they were going to have it, and I had to be prepared for it, and I had to be strong for them, because I don't think anyone in that room at that moment knew what to do with me. They didn't, and they couldn't handle what happened.
So going through everything, do you think that Cole's injury placed a strain on your marriage or like within your family?
Absolutely.
Where was that strain? How did it sort of manifest?
Wow. It was multifaceted and it came from all directions. So it's kind of hard to put your hands on that amoeba, because it's such a fluid situation. And I think everyone handles stress and trauma differently. So I had my one emotional outburst, and then I put on my big girl pants and said, let's go. Some people, that lingers much longer, and it's hard for people who are already in the let's go tackle this mode when others are still falling apart. And it's not that it's hard, it's just, it is. And so you have to learn how to work around all those shifts and emotions and breakdowns. It's very difficult for Clem. Very, very difficult, because he was in denial mode. Information would not absorb. I would say your son is paralyzed. He's a quadriplegic. And he said, wow, this could be life-changing. And I said, it is life-changing. It is. It's not, it could be. It is. We're there. But it still took days of that, reminding him, we're in a new world now. Everything is different. Everything has changed.
Despite the strain that was there, do you feel like after everything sort of calmed down that it's brought our family closer, having gone through it together?
Well, perhaps. I think we were close before. And I think that, we're Granbury Sidners, so we know how to work through a crisis.
Right.
Well, at least I have a crisis plan. I become very, very calm. I'm problem solving, and I get very serious very quickly. Other people just get emotional or want to handle the social part of things. I have very little time for that in a crisis. So I think even though we were on different ends of the spectrum, we worked very cohesively, because one person can handle those things because that's where they felt most comfortable, where I handled all the technical, more emergent situations because I could handle that.
Would you say that's an important part of working through like a spinal cord injury, is everybody chipping in where their strengths lay?
Right. And not casting blame or judging or diminishing someone. But I also found that it's very important to listen. Listen to what people are saying around you and honor it and respect it. There were times where I feel like I seemed so strong on the exterior that so much more was put on me, even when I said, I can't handle that. I can't handle that. This is what I can handle today, and this is what I can handle today. And still, people would put more on me. I handled it because you're always much more capable of doing things that you think you can't when push comes to shove. But I think that I've learned a lot about listen to the people around you, and if they're giving you signals, honor them.
What were your wishes and hopes for Cole, after sustaining this injury?
Well, I think for any mom, the hopes and dreams are the same, regardless of whether your child is struggling with a disease or a limitation or anything, is that they still have the same level of life and love and joy that they had before the accident. And to be able to grow up and become the person that you always dreamed for them to be, that does not change. My intensity for that to happen intensified like a bajillion times. And why wouldn't it? Many people worried when Cole was going off to college. Oh, how's that going to feel? Oh, aren't you sad? And I said, no. Think about how sad I would feel if that were not a possibility for him. That's the tragedy. Not that he's going away and being independent. That's what we've worked for all of our lives. That's what you pray for all your children, is that they grow up and be successful and move on and do what makes them happy. Watching that unfold, I feel no hesitation in that progress at all.
So shifting gears just a little bit, this is on the Roll with Cole and Charisma YouTube channel. So we have some questions about Charisma and our relationship. One person wanted to know, what was your reaction when I first told you about Charisma?
My first reaction was, I met her first. She's mine.
That's
Yeah. So that was my reaction. I was like, wait, what? I was the one that met her first.
That's my girlfriend.
Yeah, that was my first reaction.
Actually, that night you talked to my mom and my grandma more than you talked to me.
No, it's true. Yeah.
I invited Charisma to sit at our table.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you two knew each other.
Yeah.
And you may not have known each other.
We
but
barely knew each other.
Yeah.
But she just walked by and I said, why don't you sit at our table? She said, really? You think I could? And I said, yeah, we'll make room. And she said, well, that would be rude to the table I'm at right now. And I said, okay. Now I said, you're right, it would be. Maybe next year. And she said, yeah, maybe next year.
And look where we are.
Look where we are now.
Next year.
So, of course, my reaction when you said you'd met Charisma was good. Because I had already met her.
So did you ever imagine Cole would be in such a loving relationship after his accident?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Of
course.
That was easy, yes.
Okay, I'll tell you what I wasn't certain of. So if you want to go back there. All right, let's be real. Not everybody understands spinal cord injury. And so when it happens to you in the moment, you're thinking the worst. Hugely catastrophic, major trauma, and it is. No doubt about it. And so my gut was telling me, this is terrible. It's never going to get any better. He's going to spend the rest of his life on his back in a bed, a hospital bed. That was my initial thought about spinal cord injury because I just really didn't know. And so some aspects of it, once I was enlightened, were worse than I thought it was going to be. And other parts of it were much better than I thought it was going to be. So it's the education that's important. That's why I think it's really cool that you all are doing this, because you're raising awareness that there is life after spinal cord injury. So my initial thoughts were, no, I didn't think he was ever going to do anything. And in about a half an hour, I had already researched and found out and gotten answers to my questions that wasn't the case. It was going to change. It was going to get better. And a lot of it had to do with our attitudes and the amount of advocating we do for our loved ones. That was going to be the game changer. My mom used to say to me, whenever I would come in and say, I am so mad. Well, honey, you've got the same pants to get glad in. And I hated that. I hated when she said that to me because it didn't help. And that's the point. It's not going to help if you wallow in your misery, because nothing's changing about that situation except your attitude and how you're going to overcome it. So I thought, okay, then he's going to have a full life. He's going to go to college. He's going to get a job. He's going to get married. He's going to have children. And believe me, I asked about that within 20 minutes of being on the floor. What was happening there, because I was ready to go do some extraction. And they said, don't worry about that, Mama. That's not going to be a problem. That calmed me down and I can move forward. But I was already working towards recovery within 30 minutes. And I knew he would have a full life. And that's the plan. That's the plan.
So you mentioned the YouTube page a little bit and how you like that we're raising awareness and all that.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on us starting a YouTube page initially? Were you for it or against it?
No.
So I remember it was pretty
for it.
early in our relationship. You did have a little bit of concern, just
I did?
like, yes, like, putting all of our world out there on social media.
Oh.
And then
I know what you're saying.
YouTube kind of like, you didn't want YouTube to mess up our relationship in any way.
Right. So if I have to think about it, I think the biggest concerns I would have had early on in the relationship, you all don't even know if you're going to be sticking together. So that would be sort of way out there. Everyone would see it. That was a concern. But anytime you have a situation where you're introducing cameras, then are you real? And you don't create drama for drama's sake. And you still have to show positivity. That's the main thing, is that I wanted it to be a positive channel and not something where every day there's a new drama, because I'm not about that. I'm not having it. I think that was a big concern. I didn't want any creation of drama. The other thing I think I was afraid of was that you don't want to give away everything. Still needs to be something that's yours,
Right.
Privately yours, intimately yours, and that certain things don't need to be out there in the whole wide world.
We've had to learn to strike that balance for sure.
Yeah.
So as long as you all control the channel and you don't let the channel control you, then I'm all for it. I've been putting things out on YouTube since the day you got hurt.
Yeah. I've used it. I've used some of that on our channel too, so y'all have seen some of that.
Yeah, and for me, it was a great way to document things and to have a record of progress and communicate with the community that was supporting us back home with their love and their concern. And there were so many people that wanted to know. So it's a great way to put out, here's what's really happening. Show the picture, show the video. You don't have to try to describe it, explain it. Mm-hmm. You can just show it and people can learn that way. And they heal along with you. So with you and your subscribers, they're growing in love along with you. That would be my greatest hope for the channel, is that they're growing in awareness and they're growing in love, because we show a lot of love in this family, a lot of support, love. And if somebody can learn from that, great. If we can learn from some of their suggestions, then great. That's what it's all about.
Well, going off of love, has it been hard for you to allow someone to step in and play a big role in the care and the love for Cole?
No.
Some of these answers, you're right on top of it.
So quick.
No. Well, everyone wants to know that, and I've been asked that a million times. But let's go back again, because I keep bringing back history. We've been doing this for 7.5 years, and Cole has had very loyal, dedicated friends since the beginning, taking care of some very intimate needs for him so that he could continue to participate and that full life, full joy, be able to go camping with his friends or take trips. There are a group of friends that can handle all of Cole's care. And they came to me and said, can we learn how to do what you do? And I said, that question is not for me. That question is for Cole. I'm a supporter in this role. Now, I have certain non-negotiables, and I've said those to you straight up. Especially you, Charisma, I've said, here's some non-negotiables. I'm not having this or I'm not having that. And when I put my foot down, I put my foot down, but I'm pretty easygoing otherwise. And those guys came back in 10 minutes and said, we already have, a confirmed go-ahead from Cole. And I said, then you book the date and don't you show up late. And I will not remind you. And you don't get any second chances.
No, Kelly's coming out.
Yeah. Well, because if they ask, then, and it's all good, but then there needs to be follow through. And boy, they followed through, and they've all done a great job, and I don't have any worries at all. There are going to be accidents. Things are going to happen. Mistakes are going to be made. I've made them. I've had accidents with him. I'm not perfect. And Cole's not perfect, and no one's perfect. So things are going to happen, but it shouldn't prevent somebody from wanting to step up and be a part of something that's really awesome because they're afraid they might make a mistake. Cole's going to get hurt. That's going to happen. As long as we go in with great knowledge, great attitude, I am not worried at all about that. And I think that shows.
Are you worried about when I may someday leave the nest?
Yes. I just wanted to say yes once, couldn't I?
I think you are, though, a little bit.
No. Here's what I think.
Ooh, I don't know what that expression is, but I think something's coming.
No, I just think it's crazy to rush off when you have a perfect situation and spend more money somewhere else. But I understand. Kids make that decision all the time. That's what they want to do. Many times they get into situations where they're spending more money and have less extra income just because they want to be independent and they want to be free. Okay, I get that. I did the same thing. I know. But now, as an older person who needs to pay bills and pay for a mortgage and all that, I'm thinking, why didn't I stay longer? Because I did have full independence. I could come and go as I pleased, you know? So I think about just the money aspect of things, especially if you want to buy a home, that sort of thing. You've really got it made right here. But that's, I'm not going to hold you back. Do what you want to do. Why are you laughing?
Nothing.
No, you go ahead. I'm interviewing you too. Why are you laughing at that?
No, this is all about you.
No, it's
all
not.
All about you. Stick to you.
Be for real. Tell me why you're saying that.
So we have a couple questions to wrap things up.
Well, my eyes are going. Look at my eyes. Because this light is so bright, and I'm looking at Charisma through the light, and you on the other side of the light. I can hardly see. I'm going to sleep with this ring. And my cornea, it's burning a hole in my cornea. Oh my God.
All right, let the blue go away. Are you ready?
So to wrap it up, do you believe God has a larger plan for Cole in his injury?
Not so quick on that answer.
Well, because because it becomes two-sided. And I say that because if God has a plan for Cole, was God's plan for Cole to jump off the rock, strike his head, split it wide open, nearly drown to death, and come out quadriplegic? Was that his plan? Did he push Cole off that rock? If I believed that, I would hate God forever. Wouldn't you? So, in that vein, I look for the light. And I said, okay, Cole, my invincible little Superman boy, made a decision out of his own free will to jump off that rock, knowing it was wrong. I don't know, he didn't think it was wrong, but he had been told multiple times, don't dive into unknown waters. He knew that. That was a rule. And he did it anyway, and he paid a terrific price for that mistake. But I believe he chose that. I don't believe God pushed him off that rock. And I told him so in the hospital. But at the same time, I look at all the miracles that happened after he made that really crummy decision. In the fact that his friends saw it immediately and had the wherewithal, the guts, and the knowledge to rescue him. That was just like divinely placed. The fact that he was moments away from our level 1 trauma hospital and the most excellent neurosurgeons on the East Coast. That's miraculous. The fact that he has the function that he has, when I've seen the x-rays and the MRIs, and I've dove through those MRIs down his spinal cord, and there's no light in there. It's crushed, it's mangled. And the fact that he has the function that he has after what I've seen, that's a freaking miracle. So is there a plan? Probably. If there isn't, it would be a wasted opportunity for him not to do something glorious with his life. And that's basically what I've told him all along. You may never walk, but you'll certainly fly. As long as you're on my team. Just kidding.
That's great. It's kind of shown through the whole interview, the answer to this question, but I'll let you put it into words how you may. What advice can you give us for staying positive through life's rough days and weeks?
I'm sorry. Ask the question again.
Did you just totally zone out?
I did.
Oh my
I just went somewhere. I don't even know where I went. I don't remember.
Jeez, the zoning out.
Oh my God, my face is hot.
All right.
Okay. Wait. It is a rainy day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You want me to do it? The clouds are dark and gray. That's my advice. But I think I'll smile anyway.
This is great. This is riveting material.
Go ahead, ask me again. What was it?
The question was,
Yes.
what advice can you give us for staying positive through life's roughest days and weeks?
Okay, there are two things that make life a lot easier to get through no matter what is happening in your day. Breathing. Big cleansing breaths are transformative. Number one. And number two, smile. Shake it till you make it. Because you can. And everything you want to do, there's a way. You may not be able to achieve it the way you'd want to. Cole, I'm sure, would love to walk, but he can get wherever he needs to go with the right attitude and the willpower to just forge his way through. So even if things seem impossible, there are other ways to achieve it other than the traditional way of getting things done. So that's my advice. Smile and fake your way through it and breathe. Breathe.
Great advice.
Great advice. Thank you, Mama Kelly, for coming on and answering the subscribers' questions. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. What do you tell them?
Oh, wait. Let me think. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay positive.
Yay! You want to smack the lens?
Oh.
Cover it up?